All right, welcome. Douglas here from Higley Holiday House at Holly. I'm going to go over a little bit here how I mounted my pixel strips, these little guys, all around my window frames, my trims, and my columns. I've noticed lately on Facebook and some of the other websites that there's been a lot of questions about how we mount this stuff to make it look so crisp and clean and how we get it just built, right? Um, There's a lot of these aluminum tracks on the market. You can get these on Amazon. They work really well. This one here is a 3-foot one. You can get them, I think, 3 feet, 6 feet, and 10 feet. I think it's the longest one I've seen on Amazon. If you're doing really long runs, like underneath your gutter, I really recommend getting the longest ones possible. What happens when you're trying to put a ton of these, you end up start wobbling, and then by the time you look back and you're like, oh yeah, that looks really good, and you get your strip in there, and then your strip has a little bit of a wobble in it, and you're like, that looks horrible. Then you have to go up there and take it down, try to re-level it, and then you look at the next one, and you're like, oh, that one's off now, and then you have to do it over and over and over. I promise you, I did that so many times. I wish I would have just bought the long ones first, and then at the ends where they were too long, you can cut them. They are just aluminum. They're a little pain in the butt to cut, and the edges become very, very sharp. This edge here is actually really sharp. This edge up here. Oh, and then I almost cut myself with it. These are really sharp. They will cut you if you're not careful. And if you cut them with a hacksaw, if you take your time, you can cut it down. What I did is I took a little emery block. I don't know where it came from or where I found it, but it just happened to be in one of my toolboxes one day. And I used that to sand down all the edges that I cut to smooth it out. Those little ridges there over time, I'm assuming they would probably start cutting through your LED strip if you're not careful. So I sanded all mine down. Highly recommend doing that also. All right, let me get set up here a little bit, and I will show you what I got on my setup here and kind of some of the tips and tricks that I have for setting up these types of strips inside these tracks and mounting these tracks to the house. All right, I got a few items here set up. Let's start with the screws. When you buy these kits, it comes with screws that are super duper itty bitty teeny tiny. These little itty bitty screws is what my first kit came with. Don't use those. Hopefully they send you the little bit longer ones. If not, I highly recommend going to Home Depot or your local hardware store or wherever you're at and get a little bit longer screws that fit inside of the little clips. Because you're not going to want to mount this and have it permanently mounted and then have these little tiny screws fall out of your wood. Okay. When you're mounting these types of tracks on your frames, windows, wherever you're going, they come in multiple sizes. I think I said that prior. If you're doing long runs, I highly recommend getting the longest ones you possibly can. They're gonna make it a lot easier and a lot crisper looking. I have so many that are just slightly off a little bit, and it was really annoying, but I'll show you something once we get to the diffuser plate right there. What made it a little bit easier for me. Things that you could really use that are helpful: get yourself a laser. This one does all 3 angles. When you're doing a project like this, you don't need that much laser. That's for when I was rebuilding a kitchen. But it works really well if you're able to get it level and have it smooth and flat on your surface. It'll work really well for you. With these, this is just your basic strip. Sits right inside there. Works really well. Okay. When you read the directions on how to mount these, it says to screw these into the surface. If you screw this down too tight, it will literally bend these inwards and make it more of a V shape instead of a U channel. And when you do that, you're gonna have a really hard time getting the track to click into it. See, just clicks right on in. And also, it tells you to, I don't have enough room on my desk here. So here's the end of it. It tells you to put them about 8 inches inwards from the edge of it. So when you're mounting it up there, it wants you to put these clips, say there, and maybe about 8 inches inwards. I don't recommend doing that. What I recommend doing is put one right in the middle. Let's call this the middle. Okay, we're gonna put one right in the middle. And then when you put it on the edge, put it overlapping the edge, just like that, just a little bit. So that when you go to put your next one on, I'm going to try to do this looking through the camera here and balance it. All right. When you put these up there and you lock those into place like that next to each other, it's going to help hold that into a much more smooth, even pattern. And you're not going to have the shift. When you don't do it like that and you're trying to line these up, let's take that off. Oh, those are sharp. Yeah, just remember, they're sharp. You don't want to be touching these when you're cutting yourself. All right, when you try to line these up and the clips are 8 inches apart from each other, you can't even see that in the camera anymore. Yeah, let's call that 8 inches. When you try to line them up on those clips and they're off a little bit, they'll be sitting like that, just angled. And when you go to put the LED strip in there, it's going to be all funky, and then it's going to cause sharp edges right here, and you'll cut your cord or your, your power cables too. It'll cut your strip pretty quick. So I recommend making sure that you put these just a little bit over each one. Now, something else that I have noticed, you can get these clips now that are 3 inches long. That was new. I did not have those when I bought mine. Mine all came with these little tiny ones. But yeah, if you can get the ones that have the 3-inch ones, that'll look so much better. And then people immediately go to the diffuser panel here, what goes on top. And they think that each strip gets one diffuser panel, just like that. And so you're gonna have a little bit of a space right there. One of the other things that I learned quickly in my time putting these up, you put those on there, you got your clip there holding that together. Take your diffuser, put the diffuser panel halfway through. So you have one whole diffuser panel is going over 2 halves of your track. Sorry, that was a little weird to say. And the diffuser panels, they just click right in. Just like that. And that's going to support that so much more. Like, I'm trying to bend this, and it's taking a lot to move. With the clip in the middle and the diffuser strip covering the cut part right here, the splice, then you're going to be looking a lot more smooth and crisp. With your strips, these ones have the sticky back on them. You can peel that off and stick them in there. I did that for my whole first set, but now what I'm going to have a problem with is if I have to change anything, I have to rip them apart, and it's just going to shred all of the strip. So it's not even going to be supportive or safe anymore. If I have to take the strip off to like change out like 3 or 4 of these, it's going to tear it up so much that I'm just going to have to replace the whole strip. It won't be safe to replace it. These tracks do have plenty of room. If you put that in there, has plenty of room. I'm trying to hold it down. I don't want to use the sticky on it. If you're going to run power injection cables, you can totally slide that right on inside there and you won't even know it. And once you get the diffuser plate on, it tucks it in there nice and neat and holds it good. I do have a couple where I had to connect 2 ends of LED strips together, and I wrapped them in the black protective cover, thinking that it wouldn't be noticeable. If you're doing the diffuser strips, I highly recommend always using a clear waterproofing kit. Don't use any of the black, because the black definitely shows up through it and it looks horrible. Alright, I'll take you outside here real quick. My window frames and all my columns, I have these little elbows here. These little plastic elbows, I bought them pretty much off the same Amazon site when I got the channels. It was just kind of like you stroll down to the bottom, it's like, hey, people also bought these. They work really well for corners. The only problem is, and I messed this up pretty bad in my first year, is the way they're made, you can't slide an LED strip through it easily. It took a lot of work, and every one of my LED strips right here in the corners do have a little bit of a crease. Do not crease your LED strips. It will cause them to crack, short out, and burn up. I was doing some testing, and I put all the lights on 100%, because that's what I could do at the time, because I had plenty of space and power. And I was standing up on my road, and I looked up, and I'm like, those strips over there should not be red. Why is that strip red? There's a strip down by towards the bottom. It was just bright red. All the other ones were changing colors on a rainbow pattern. So I went up and kind of tapped on it, thinking, well, maybe I have a grounding issue. It was literally melting the cover. It shorted out, and it was just burning and melting. So I quickly ripped it off the house. There was this little bit of a burn mark on the back of the house, so it literally was starting to catch on fire while I was testing it. All because I thought I was being creative and trying to not have to cut and splice. Where's the big airplane leaving right there? Airplane somewhere over there. Trying to make it so I didn't have to do a bunch of cutting and splicing. If you're going to do elbows and bends like that, and you want to do the strips, I definitely recommend ending the strip, cutting it, like maybe putting a couple little wires in there, waterproofing it, and making your bends a lot more smoother. Don't try to bend your LED strips. That's why a lot of people are going towards using just pixels and the pixel trim kits now. They work so much better. I don't want to do that. I like having the look of the trim. You don't even see it on the house. You don't even know that there's trim here. People walk by my house all the time. Nobody will ever see that unless you know it's there. Okay, coming down here. So these 90-degree bends were tricky. These 90-degree bends were tricky. As you can see, there's a little bit of exposure right here to my strip. And the covers, I just cut these. And I cut the strips for the track, the channel. It made little short ones that went right up to the edge. I did not want the edge of the channel to be right into the corner, because of the sharp edge would eventually cut through the strip itself. So I made it so it's just kind of open here. It does get exposed to the weather and the elements a little bit, but it doesn't do too bad. The only issue is this one over here. Let's go over to this one real quick. This is right on the corner of a pathway, and so this one's kind of gotten its butt kicked here. So I'm gonna get the focus. This whole piece here has gotten kicked many times. This has been broken off. This one's cracked. The LED strip is actually cracked in there. Kind of see. So I need to hit that one with a little bit of hot glue and cover it up. Just trying to make it so it's not so bad looking. But it does still look really good when the lights are on, and you don't even notice that there's a problem with the channel itself. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult to see here. This here is my channel and my gutter. When I first put those channels under the gutter, I wanted to put it just like directly underneath the gutter, because I thought the gutter would be nice and smooth and level, and it is not at all. So there's a ton of channel that is kind of shifted up and down, and it is a little wavy. I know, that's hard to tell. With the sunlight up in the sky, it's making it difficult. If I had that 3D laser leveler that I bought for the kitchen, and I was able to put it on a big stand out in the middle of the yard and had it shine on that, that would have been perfect to go all along that gutter line right there, and I could have had all that perfectly smooth. I can tell that it's off a little bit and it has some ups and downs, but it's not too bad where I've asked people who are watching my show, hey, do you notice anything weird or unusual? And they're like, no, not really. But you know, we spend hours and hours and hours staring at this stuff, so we know where the errors and faults lie. But, oh well. Can't have everything be perfect. Whoa, I just spun my camera. Alright, so in conclusion, there's several different types of LED strips. They're generally pretty much the same size. If you are going to go with a channel like this is the shallow channel. You can get ones that are, I think are about an inch deep. You can get ones now that are curved, so they're a 90-degree corner, so they fit right up in the corner, and then they have a curved front and a curved diffuser, so that the light will shine slightly different. There's a ton of stuff out there. You can shop for days and look at everything and see what you can find. I don't really have much more to say about them, but I do like them. I do like the way they look. The light shines, it diffuses right through this really nicely, and it makes it a lot smooth, clean look. You can get different colored diffusers as well. I've seen some that are kind of a brownish color. I don't know why you would want that. You can get ones that are completely transparent and clear. I recommend getting the white frosted one. And I even saw one that was black. So the only reason I think a black one would be cool is if you're kind of trying to do like a darker shine through it. Like you just want the light itself, but you don't want the actual illumination of the light shining on something. I could see that being done in like a haunted house or something. That kind of be cool. But so yeah, that is my track system that I use. Highly recommend it. If you have any questions, leave a comment and I'll try to get back to you.